Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm gonna give you guys a chance to come into the conversation. Take your time coming on in. I see you guys over in Your Black World TV. You guys won't be able to see Dr. Anderson, but you'll be able to hear the discussion loud and clear. If you want to see everything and see it and hear it, you can go to drboycetv.com. If you just want to hear it, you can stay right where you're at. I want to welcome everybody to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. This is where we have intelligent conversations about important issues that affect our community. If you're not Black and intelligent, you probably want to leave. This is not the place for you. This is a place where we have grown-up conversations about the issues of the day. And how many of you guys, as you shout out your cities, how many of you have been following closely along with the whole situation with Amber Guyger and Botham Jean, the Amber Guyger case? Amber Guyger is a white female police officer who was on trial for killing a Black man. And in this trial, Amber Guyger was being charged with murder. And after she was put on trial, she was found guilty, which was partly a sense of relief. But the sentence was 10 years, which means she could be paroled in 5, which a lot of people felt was too light. So if that wasn't bad enough, you then had some amazing, really disturbing imagery, three pieces of imagery that really got my attention. And that's what we're going to discuss today. One was, tell me if you guys saw this. Give me a yes or no if you saw this craziness, this chaos. One was, and I'm sharing this also with Dr. Anderson, so he'll know the background of everything. One was the image of the bailiff. Anybody remember the bailiff, the Black bailiff that was playing with the lady's hair? And it looked like, and then they claimed she was looking for contraband, but it looked like she was like her hairstylist, like playing with her hair, like she was giving her a little hair massage or something. And then there was the image of Botham Jean's brother, Botham Jean, the Black man who just got killed, who was murdered. His brother goes on the stand, and first thing he says is, I forgive you and I wish the best for you. And then he asks the judge, is it okay if I give her a hug? So Dr. Anderson, he runs over to her and gives her the biggest hug, like that was his lost cousin, like it was like she was a relative, like he just loved this white woman who just murdered his brother. And then to cap it all off, to give us the trifecta of buffoonery, worst buffoonery we've seen probably since Rodney King said, "Can we all just get along?" I don't know if y'all remember that. The Black judge, who was actually endorsed by the police department, so a lot of people were skeptical of that. She gets a Bible and goes to this lady who was just convicted of murder, and hands the lady a Bible and says, it's whispers some words in her ear and gives her a big old hug in the courtroom. And I mean, Dr. Anderson, people are pissed. If this makes you angry, tell me if this makes you angry, because I know this drove me crazy. I couldn't wait to talk to you, Dr. Anderson. This is probably the most eager I've ever been to talk. There've been a lot of times I've been eager to talk to you about things, because I think you provide context, because you're a history expert. You wrote Powernomics and everything else, so you know the history of the slave mentality. But this is probably the most eager I've ever been to talk to you. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up for a minute, and I'm going to ask everybody, number one, if you could please hit that thumbs up button. Please hit that thumbs up button if you haven't done that yet, so more people can come into the chat. And also, I'm going to formally introduce my guest. His name is Dr. Claud Anderson. You guys probably know him for Powernomics Thursday. Dr. Anderson is the author of several books that you should have in your home. Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. If you want to get his books for your family, you should go to powernomics.com. At powernomics.com, you can not only get all of his books in the Power Pack that includes all the books in the DVD, but you can also subscribe to his YouTube channel, which you should go to. So go to the YouTube channel. Make sure you do that. So without further ado, I'm going to be quiet now. Dr. Anderson, so you got the gist of the whole story about Amber Guyger and this white lady getting more hugs. Mind you, by the way, the Black judge, from what I have read, has never, ever, 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 ever hugged a person in the courtroom, from my understanding. She ain't never, ever hugged a convicted person of anything. This is the first time she ever did this, and she did it right now. Dr. Anderson, what goes through your mind based on what you know about history and the mentality that leads us to even think that this is normal behavior?
Okay. Can I initiate my responses by asking you 2 or 3 questions?
Yes.
This occurred in what city and what state now?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. And that's one of the most racist states in the history of the United States. They had more sundown towns than any country in the state of the United States. That's where most of the races hung out, was in Texas. That's the first thing. Secondly, what was the sex of the judge?
The judge was a black female.
Okay, and what was the makeup of the jury?
I believe the jury had some black people on it. If you guys know the answer to that specifically, let me know. But I believe the jury had 4 or 5 blacks on the jury.
And what was the jury made up of otherwise?
Gender-wise, or you mean?
No, in terms of biological.
I'm going to look that up because I don't know exactly. I know that there were maybe 4 or 5 blacks. Let me see. Somebody says 8 women, 5 men. Let me see. Anybody else got some information you can share? Millionaire Male says 3 Asians. Samuel says 6 blacks. Okay, so sorry. So okay, I'm seeing 5 blacks, 2 white, and it looks like a few are any Asians. I figured there would be some Hispanic people on that jury, being Dallas, Texas.
That's what I would guess in Dallas.
Yeah, Tia says 5 black, 5 Asian Hispanic, 2 white, 8 female, and 4 male. I like that answer.
Okay, that gives me that sets the context for me. What you got there, you got what they would call a minority jury. That's what it is. And you got a black female who's going to operate within that context of trying to be acceptable based on her gender rather than her race. So let's start with that point. Now, so the question is, why would you see such a massive display of inappropriate behavior, not only in terms of the jury, but also the officer who was a female, and then you got a white female doing the shooting, and you got a black female serving as a judge. You got all this gender and other stuff mixed up, and nobody's focusing on anything based on race. Now let's start off and go back. That's called on a broad category called inappropriate behavior patterns. That is not new to blacks, to Boyce. And let's go back all the way to that has been in this country as a pattern ever since the first ships began to arrive in the country. Black folk were taught to do what? To have less than a willingness to stand up for themselves as a group. As a matter of fact, there's a good book on this, because I'm gonna give you a long diatribe now on this, called There's No Honor in Slavery. And when they started setting up slavery and the ships coming into the country, one of the things that what white folks set up was a total inability to like and identify with anything black. You know why? Because they said that black folk accept slavery. Therefore, we hate them and we despise them. And see, and that creates problems for you now in places like Dallas with your civil rights leaders and your black ministers and your black judges, because they are trying to figure out how to get along. And the whites, because of that, saying that black folk have no honor because they have having been enslaved. And therefore, all blacks want to do is be acquiescing, compromising, get along, samboing, and kissing butt to survive. And white folks don't like that. They've never liked that, and they have no respect for black folk. So when slavery started, white folks expected any black male to stand up, stick up for his own self and for his people. Then in European society had a thing called dueling, which means if somebody offended you or your family, or your race, you then pull your sword and say, let's meet tomorrow morning sunrise on a field of honor, and we will fight. It was called a field of honor, which means you stand up for your own people and set a context where people will be forced to respect you. And that's why whites did all those dueling situations in Europe. When it came to America, they brought that same philosophy here with them. And in the old Western, you always hear about, we'll meet at sunrise or sunset, we'll have a shootout. Because you've offended me, you've done something that's negative to me and degraded me. So white folk always place a great deal of importance on people standing up for themselves, respecting themselves, and not letting people degrade them and run them down. But they say because black folk won't do it, black people in America they have no honor. We're never going to honor them and respect them because they've never stood up for themselves. He said, no people of character and have any honor, respect themselves, allow themselves to be enslaved like black folk have. And right now in America, I'm giving you this background in history. In America, black people in America have to hold a record, Dr. Watkins. They hold the national history record for the longest enslaved people on earth. Did you know that? Nobody's been enslaved longer than black people in America. Black people in America were enslaved for 360 years, another 100 years of semi-slavery, and now 60 years of benign neglect. And that's why white folks don't respect you. But they use that principle to inculcate it into black folks in general. And here's how it works. They make sure that they behave in an inappropriate behavior pattern. one of the first ships that came into America, without those understandings that black folk are never going to stand up for themselves. One of the first ships that came into America, it got someplace off the coast of the Atlantic coast. And there was a major slave revolt, excuse me, aboard that ship. It was a major revolt. And blacks were trying to take over the boat. They revolted. We're going to take over the boat. It was just about, and then once they took it over, they were just about ready to kill the white captain who was in charge of that boat, because he had maltreated those blacks all the way from Africa, all the way to the coast, the southern coast of the United States. And then they stood up against a post and they said, we're going to kill you because basically that's what they say in their language, but what you've done to us for all these months in these subhuman conditions on this boat. And as one of the African pulled back his sword and a knife, machete, to kill the white officer who was a slave ship captain. Guess what? A young black kid jumped up and ran in front of the blade and blade him and cut his whole arm off, because he gave his life, gave his arm to save the white master on the ship. And so when the ship finally was recovered, the whites honored that guy. They honored that kid for being a very heroic kid, for having stood up for the white slave captain against his own people. And he didn't understand the difference between standing up and having some respect, and stand up and use the philosophy of whites about dueling and having a shootout, saying there's certain things we're going to demand is respect from you and appreciation from you. Now let me jump to a history, bring that up to modern times. So in 1968, while I was serving as assistant, a director for research for the Safe Street and Crime Act in Detroit, Michigan, they had the Michigan riots. And that night when on a Friday night, when the riot broke out in Detroit, Michigan, police officers came to a hotel on Woodward Avenue. At that point in time, they had about 4 or 5 black kids in a hotel room, in different rooms on the hotel. They had some white girls in there with them. And when the officers broke in, they captured those 4 or 5 kids, and they had white girls with them. And so all Friday night and all Saturday night, those white police officers, because they thought there was a riot going on, they held those 4 or 5 kids in captivity, and they beat them all day Friday, then they beat them all day Saturday. But by Saturday night, the white police officers lost any interest and continued to torment and mistreat these young black kids. And they decided to go ahead and kill them. And one of the officers took a rifle. He took a rifle, a big rifle, hit one of the black kids in the head, back of the head with the rifle. And he hit the damn kid so hard that it broke the stock on the rifle. Broke the stock on the rifle and knocked the kid's, one of his eyes totally out of socket and bulged the other one. And the black kid fell on the floor. And the officer said, damn, that nigga's head so hard it broke my rifle. And the black kid was crawling around on the floor. And this was at the Algiers Hotel in Detroit on Woodward Avenue. The black kid crawled around on the floor and found the stock, the broken piece of the stock. You know what he did then? He got up on his knees with one eye hanging out, the other one bulging, and held the stock up to the police officer, and apologized for having a hard head. And so, that philosophy going all the way from the earliest ships all the way to that point in Detroit, that black folk always find it necessary to apologize and compromise as people. They never stick up for their own people. And so what you're seeing now is a massive display of still inappropriate behavior. And black folk are displaying, and rather than sticking up for their own people, they're following the codes of conduct that went through that long span, saying that under no circumstance we can have ordered, or we're going to do anything to give white folks the fact that we're going to stand up and stick up for ourselves. The code of conduct following slavery says no black worth people in a public office or any kind of position will ever stand up against white people and try to hold white people accountable for what they've done to black folk. 2, we'll push back for some kind of help as a group. And 3, hold white folks accountable for slavery. And this became a part of the code of conduct. Now, and that was way back. Now let's jump up to about 1948. Nobody was sticking up for black folk. So finally they began to appoint black police officers in the United States. At that time, they never had any black police officer. So in 1948, they put in the first black police officers. The first one went into in Atlanta, Georgia. And they put another one in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But guess what, those black police officers? They could not arrest a white person, point one. Point two, they could not carry a gun. And point three, they had to respect white people at all times. And so consequently from 1948 up to pretty much this time, you've never, ever heard of a black police officer killing a white person. Never been done. You go back and check your records. You have white police officers kill black folk on a routine, regular basis. And that's as a male to male. But now you got a white female just did the killing of black folk. Nobody's going to hold them basically responsible for that under the old codes of conduct of etiquette. And so again, black people, nobody's holding them accountable, and they're following the code of etiquette. And black civil rights leaders, black ministers have picked up that code. You can do anything, but you must always never take offense against whites for what they've done to you. Not doing slavery, not in the Detroit riot, and now if you're going to shoot a black person every week, do not take up arms, and always try to comfort whites, demonstrate your ability to acquiesce, compromise, just to get along. Now that's called a code of conduct. That code of conduct is a basis for inappropriate behavior in our society. And I guarantee you right now that every time they shoot a black person, it's going to be done by basically a white person. And you're never going to see very much pain being demanded from those people. No black leadership would jump on and demand anything other than just to compromise, acquiesce, and get along. I'm going to stop there and then I'm going to pick up again after you let you respond to what I just told you. I just tried to lay a whole line of history saying that black folk have been socially conditioned to just get along, to acquiesce, compromise on any issue. That's why right now in the public issues across this country, the campaign, nobody's going to demand anything to benefit black folk. Black folk are under what they call a gag rule. They are gag rule means nobody in public office is to ever stand up for black folk. And in the lower levels, even in the churches, they have stand up for black folk. They will only stand up for black folk if it's in broad, ambiguous terms called minorities, poor folk, people of color. That's why I asked you about the court situation. Now you got a bunch of people there now in that court situation. You made up of other people other than black. You probably got Asians, Hispanics, whites, and everything else. And so the judge is a black woman. She can identify with that white woman based on gender, not on blackness, but on gender. And the decision on what kind of sentences she's going to get will be based on the fact of her simply being no more than a minority. And then you got the most damning thing is for a black kid to get up and go hug her and apologize for what she's done to black folk. That is totally inappropriate behavior. And so in conclusion, what I'm saying is that anytime a black person will place more importance on either gender or a minority status or on some code of conduct that was implemented by white folk and won't stand up and hold people accountable for what they're doing to the race, they are comfortable. And therefore, they put me at risk, my children at risk, and every black person at risk. Never let anybody get away with mistreating and maltreating you. See, and that's what's happening. That's why nobody's standing up for black folk. And even the civil rights leaders, they're coming in and give prayers and sing prayers and say, God will make a way. God will solve it. They're going to bring God into your situation. And I bet that's what you're talking about a prayer. You're going to find that judge who, if it's a black woman, she's going to give somebody a damn Bible if necessary to show that we are soft, easygoing people. We're looking for pie in the sky after death. We're not going to try to hold white folk accountable on the earth. And we got to just try to get along. And I don't care how many times you kill a black person, never try to hold them accountable for it. That's the fact of the matter. That's called totally inappropriate behavior. And that inappropriate behavior is a great danger to every black person. It's a danger to me, to you, and all of your subscribers. Anytime you hear somebody do what you just told me, get up and go hug a person, just kill somebody, member of his own family, he's stuck on stupid, and that signals a danger. And what he's doing is begging other white people to come out of the closet and do the same thing to black folk. There's no penalty. There's no penalty in inappropriate behavior patterns because nobody's going to punish white folks for whatever they do. And you'll be lucky if that woman gets 6 months in jail. And that out in Florida, they arrested one black woman for overspending her food stamps. They gave her 15 years at Christmas time for overspending a food stamp. Another guy, a black guy, gave him 26 years for stealing a damn chicken. No black person stood up and said that is inappropriate behavior for you to be able to punish these people like that. But the black establishment accepted it and said that's okay, we'll get along. So I'm giving you a few examples. Now you go ahead and respond, ask me any other questions.
Yeah, well, Amber Geiger, the police officer on trial, she did get a 10-year sentence. She was
She got
found
how many years? How many
10,
years
10 years.
for a
Yeah.
sentence for death?
Well, 10 years and five. She could be paroled in 5 years. So
Damn.
she got
She didn't get anything, any punishment then.
Yeah, well, the thing is that she didn't, she was convicted, and the sentence. A lot of people were upset with the sentence because they felt the 2 years was too easy. But what really I think set people off was all the hugging and the forgiveness, and quoting the Bible and all this other stuff. And even in the chat, Dr. Anderson, I saw somebody say, well, it makes sense that he forgave her because you can't get into heaven if you don't have forgiveness in your heart. And it makes me think about the legacy of toxic Christianity on the Black community, not the empowered Christianity, right? Because Nat Turner also was a preacher, if I'm not mistaken. But to the toxic side, the slave side of Christianity seems to push this idea that that you'll get all your rewards in the by and by, you'll get them in heaven. And so for now, you just lay low and let them beat you up, let them kill you. It seemed like that moved forward all the way into the civil rights movement. And I'd like to get your take on some of that, Dr. Anderson. By the way, but before I actually ask you that, Dr. Anderson, I want to let everybody know I'm talking to Dr. Claud Anderson. He's the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. His website is powernomics.com. Go to powernomics.com and get these books for your family. They're very good books. And also he's got a power pack, which is $99. You can get all the books and the DVD, and also subscribe to his YouTube channel. And everybody who's watching, please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button and hit that notification bell so you'll know when we go live. Everybody, please do that right now if you can. We'd appreciate that. So Dr. Anderson, could you please give us, just speaking on the Christianity angle, it seems that most of the forgiveness episodes that happened, like when that Dylan Roof guy went and shot up all those people in the church, and everybody in the church came in and was forgiving him before the trial even started. It seems like a lot of that comes out of Christianity. Now, I don't think we have to convict every Black church in America for this, but I'd be curious to know during slavery, in terms of how Christianity was presented to Black people and how white supremacists presented Christianity around the world to Black people. How was that used to suppress us? How was that used to make us nonviolent and very passive, even in the face of violence?
Well, that happened in 2 or 3 different ways. First of all, you have to understand that the original Jews in Christianity was built on blackness. And what you got now, Blacks are the original Jews. They were original Jews from all the way up to in crisis time, all the way up to about until about 700 or 800s, when King Balon invited Black folk up there down the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea to bring, because you had groups called the Kasarians up there. They were very violent people. I believe in sex worship, animal worship, and everything else. And they wanted to have a new religion. And so that's up until about 700, 800. The real Jews in this country, for instance, and they had any understanding of Christianity were Blacks. And then when they went up there, then finally after about 800 or 900, after they had 6 Black rabbis, they introduced the religion up there. Then after about 400 or 500 years, and then the new Jews took over. And those were whites. Those are Kasarians coming back from up above the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. And they were a mixture of everything from Mongoloids to Europeans to Polish and everything else. And so now the present day Jews are not the original Jews. And so at that point in time, that was about 1500s. Now slavery started again, I told you about 1500. When slavery started, they had to find some way to try to codify slavery because the British had taken over the slave trade in America. And so King James then at that point in time was heading up the biggest slave trading system all around the world. The British was shipping most of the slaves, and they had taken over the slave trades from the Spanish people. And in this country, so what King James did later on in life, he wanted the Bible rewritten, and that's called the King James Version. He wanted to be rewritten, and then they wanted something to cover and justify the enslavement of Black folk, who were initially were the first Jews about Christianity, and now they're going to be enslaved as under the same system. And so they began to rewrite what they call catechisms into the new Bible, and that went around about the 1600s and 1700s. By the 1700s, black folks started beginning to express an interest in being made Christians in the country and no longer being called savages. And so about 1790s, between about 1790s and about 1820s, that time they had an evangelical movement in America where black slaves wanted to be taught Christianity. And whites said, well, look, here's what we'll do. We allow you to come into our churches and our religions and wipe away some of the savageness in you if you accept Christianity. And then and after that was a code of, again, a BS, which says that basically that you got to be taught certain things, and every day you quote it, like for saying, who put you in slavery? They said, who've been helping you in slavery? It's with God. They claimed everything on God for black folk. What are you seeking in slavery? To be good? What do you want to do on earth? Just be loyal and faithful. And so finally, they taught blacks to be humble and obedient using the Bible. They had catechisms. They taught black folk. And in the final analysis, black folk were taught, Dr. Watkins, to be humble, obedient, hardworking, and look for pie in the sky after death. Did you see what I said? That's where that came from. That was indoctrinated into the heads of slaves. And then what they did, the whites then chose preachers and ministers who would be very controllable, that whenever they did teach black folk anything about religion, Christianity, they would teach them that to be hardworking, obedient, loyal, and look for pie in the sky after death, and be Christ-like. Say you should have been Christ-like all along. But nobody ever told those black folk that Jesus Christ had come to the earth. He's done all those things, been Christ-like. He paid a penalty for it and died. Black folk don't have to be Christ-like, be kissing everybody and getting along with everybody. Jesus Christ came in and done that. And that's why John in the Bible, when he said he's going to go off and help save the world, he said, yes, I'm going to go off and help save the world, but I'm going to save black people or Jews first. And most people don't know that John was a black man. But now white folk taught him to be respectful of whites, to honor them, and to be Christian-like, Christ-like, to be weak, compromising, acquiescing, butt-kicking, and look for heaven in the sky. And anybody that knows anything about religion said it makes no damn sense, period. How can you give white folk all these benefits on earth to make them superior people on earth? Let them raise and let them profit in every respect for 300 years of slavery, and another 100 years of semi-slavery, where they get the best home, the best food, the best education, the best clothes, the best lifestyle, control all the wealth, resources, privileges, and rights. Then say now when they die, we can all go to heaven and be treated equally. That would make God seem like a fool. Why would a God put you under that kind of social construct and let whites do all these mean things to you, to shoot you down, and through the police force, to drag you, lynch you, castrate you, and say, but when you die, you're going to go to heaven, and you're all going to be equal. And black ministers and blacks in general bought into that. They bought into this belief that somehow they need to be Christ-like, compromising, acquiescing, and try to get along with whites and look for pie in the sky after death. That's why they go do that. And I guarantee them, you ask, they're gonna say, well, God will make a way. It's not God's responsibility to save black folk. He gave black folk a brain, and that he should be able to use it just like whites use theirs. But so that's the first part I talked to was about inappropriate behavior. And inappropriate behavior went into the churches, and black folk have been ascribing to it ever since about the late 1790s, all up to about the early 1820s. And all the black churches bought into it up to the present time. They believe in being butt kissing, compromising, chicken licking, finger licking. At the same time, whites got a document, that one book I told you called There Is No Honor in Slavery. That's what the whites preach. It says we will never respect black folk and preach them and accept them. 98% of us was against black folk during slavery. Today, 88% of us are still against black folk. And 63 to 64% of all the immigrants coming to this country is against black folk. And so consequently, black folk don't know the game. And that's why in all my books, Dr. Watkins, I try to explain all this stuff in that power pack. 5 books I wrote for black folk covers all these issues. But unfortunately, black folk, I'm disappointed that most of them don't even buy the books, they don't read them. But your group probably one of the best readers we got. That they'll read these things. I got an understanding of what's going on. And we're not gonna exercise inappropriate behavior anymore. We're not looking for pie in the sky. We're not gonna allow whites to always shoot us down. And even that's why black police officers will never kill. You ever see that? You'll never heard of a white black police officer killing an Asian, Arab, a Hispanic, or white women, gays. Black police officers don't do that. White police officers under the Second Amendment, got a license to kill black folk anytime they want to, and never pay a penalty. They especially use these concepts of inappropriate behavior and the minority stuff that they can put on it, and the gender stuff in the jury, and gender and minority cultures rights into the juries and the judge. You're not going to get any justice. Justice would be given to you only through the eyes of whites. And now they make some of these black judges whites, and they give you the justice they want you to get.
All right, everybody who's listening, speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson. He is the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. He also has a power pack of books that you can actually get for your family at powernomics.com. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel at powernomics.com. Also, everybody, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button and that notification bell, the notification bell is is to notify you when we go live. You know that this channel is about Black intelligence. It's better than pretty much every other space that's out here, especially mainstream media, because we're honest and we are open-minded, and we try to nail down the issue and dig deeper than most. So this is what this is about. This is not about just rah, rah, rah. This is really about kind of understanding how we can be better people. So I hope you'll make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Now, I want to ask everybody a question in the audience for Dr. Anderson. Dr. Anderson, I'll give you the results here. You were talking pretty strongly about the Black church and the role that Christianity plays in this sort of forgiveness doctrine. Now, it's a mixed feeling for me because, I know a lot of pastors that really do their best to be as progressive as they can. I got people in my family that go to church that, that don't forgive anything. And I'd be curious to get a sentiment from the community. Do you feel that the Black church makes the Black community better off or worse off? Answer that question for me, everybody. Do you feel that the Black community, that the Black church makes our community better off or worse off? Give me a better or worse. What do you guys think? Let me know. And while you guys answer that question, I'll let you all know that some of you asked where you can get t-shirts like this. You can actually go to wokeblacktees.com. That's wokeblacktees.com. So feel free to go to wokeblacktees.com. You can check that out. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of worse. I see Black Law Now says worse. DJ Fame says better. Dewana Adams says worse. Sandra says worse. Boyne Flynn worse off. Sandra worse off. DeBestford says worse off. Johanna has a more complex answer. Johanna says both. Ursula says worse. Anthony says better. Elin says worse off because they're not teaching the fullness of the Bible. They cherry pick the Bible. Somebody says, one brother Max says there's no such place as a Black church. Okay, that's interesting. Afu says worse. I'm seeing a lot of worse. I'm seeing a lot of people that are not happy, with the existence of the church. And so, Dr. Anderson, I'd be curious to see, if you was to really kind of, let me ask you a straight up hard question that I'm curious to know the answer to. If we just outlawed all Black churches tomorrow, just got rid of all of them tomorrow, do you think that would be better for the community or worse for the community? I mean, what good do you see that the Black church can do or does do for the community? Because there's thousands of churches, right? We can't, assume that they all the same. They don't operate the same, right? But as a collective, do you feel that it's held us back to this Christianity thing? Because remember, not only, we do have the slavery legacy, but we also have things like faith and hope and the ability to overcome obstacles that I personally got. I don't go to church that much at all. I never go to church, honestly. But I'm a person of faith. I'm a spiritual person, and I remember going to church with my grandmother. Kind of gave me a moral foundation. And also, there, churches are institutions, right? You've got money collected, and some churches are doing really good work. So how do we distinguish between the bad and the good that the church does? And do you feel that the bad just really outweighs the good, or the good outweighs the bad? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's a good question. Excellent question. Going back to right now, I would not like to see you outlaw all the Black churches, but they reasonably be redefined and upgraded. As I said to you, going back to the early 1800s, when white folk controlled the churches, they controlled the ministers. That was done intentionally to keep down slave revolts and to keep Black folk into a lockbox bag. And all the ministers, that's what the minister's primary role was. Most of those ministers never had an education, but they were ministers. Most of them could barely read and write. even today, under present day circumstances, Dr. Watkins, probably about 85% of all the Black ministers right now only just have a high school education. But they're looked up to, and they looked up to as being like second comings of Jesus Christ. But they don't understand how to use the Bible. Every other group on earth have learned how to use the religion to protect and elevate their people. Everybody's done that. As I told you, when Jews took over the the religion from Black folk back in about late 800s and 900s, they learned quickly how to use the Bible to be able to elevate the quality of new Jews. And they stick together as a group, and they practice groupism based on the religion, which is Judaism. Arabs are already using Islam to elevate their lives and styles, going back to about 765 AD, when Islam came into existence around about like 629. But when it came into existence, they built their whole fabric of the church structure to be quasi-political, but also to be economically based, so that all Jews would stick together and practice Islam to elevate the quality of life for their people. And that's why they marched around for the longest in Africa, from the 765 AD up to about the 1400s, excuse me, when they took it over with the fall of Timbuktu, and they knocked out the Songhai and the Ghana empires, and they started dominating. And they're now, and the Arabs are still dominating Africa. And that's why you talk about Swahili and all this kind of stuff. That's a fabricated language. And now the Arabs will communicate with the Blacks all over Africa. And but right now, Black folk are still under the Arab ownership, and Arabs are still enslaving Black folk in Meritorious, Songhai, I'm not Songhai, but Saddam and Ethiopia and Mauritania, because they're using their religion to be able to capture the resources in those cities. The Jews done it already. The Catholics did the same thing going all around the world using Catholicism to learn how to use the church to bring all the wealth and resources from the Americas back to Italy and to the Catholic Church. They use the religion to elevate the quality of life of their people. But to make a long story short, the only people who have never used the religion that they were taught in the late 1700s and 1880s, 1820s, in that time period, they've never used the church to elevate the quality of life for Black folk. You're under code of conduct. You can't do it. Don't use it for that means. So the present time now is this. You got about 67 to let's say about 65, 700 Black churches in the country. You got about 120 Black ministers. Now those churches can bring in, we used to, but even about 38% right now in bankruptcy, they would bring in about as much money as all the Black businesses put together. But guess what? The church take all that money out of the Black community. They never see a connection between taking money out of Black folks' pockets in those churches, 65,000 churches across America. They don't see any connection between that, taking that money and building business opportunities for Black folk. Learning how to teach economics from everything from the Sunday school all the way up to the Sunday pulpit. Use it, elevate Blacks. Then teach them how to set up corporations or set up land trust companies for seizing the land in all these urban cities so that gentrification would not occur and Blacks would lose their land. The Black churches have never used all that money they get. They get right now about most of the money coming out of the Black community goes into the Black churches. But that money has never been used to produce any products, service, goods, or businesses for Black folk. And so there's no connection between going to the Black church and in the church uses its powers and resources to elevate Black folk. But see, the church needs to be redirected somehow, and people need to be re-educated and get away from the spiritual base that says, look for pie in the sky after death, and say, no, be realistic. If all the other religions have taught their people, have used the church to pull in wealth, resources, and to build businesses for their people. Arabs build businesses for Arabs. Jews build businesses for Jews. Black folk don't build in the businesses, don't use the money. They take that money they collect every Sunday and go put it in a white bank on a Monday morning, and Black folk can't go in and borrow enough to even buy a spittoon for the church, out of taking the money out of the white bank. So no, there's a connection. There's no connection between Black folk going to church and Black folk learn how to empower themselves and practice group economics and group politics. So consequently, whites come into a church anytime there's an election coming up. Whites can go in every Black church in America. They know there's no connection between the black parishioners and the minister. They go and say, and they put about $10 and $50 into the hands of a black minister and say, tell your parishioners to vote for me. And you might even throw you a pack of that Kentucky Fried Chicken in there. and so they'll vote for him, they'll follow him. But there's no connection. And right now, all the funeral homes are being wiped out by whites. So whites are going to all the black ministers and say, look, every time we'll take over the black funeral homes, and when your parishioners die, send them to us. We'll give you a kickback of $300 or $400 for what we call for charge of black family for a death and a burial and a funeral. We'll give you about $300 kickback. Everybody uses the church as a pathway to get to the black community, and the black community church never has defined itself well enough to say our primary role is not to be just to get black folk prepared to go to heaven and look for pie in the sky, but to teach them how to live somewhat a life here on the earth that they're deserving of, with quality life. And then they don't understand the Bible. They don't understand it. They don't understand when they say a prayer that I will be done in the Lord's Prayer. It says, I will be done on earth, not in pie in the sky, as it is in heaven. They don't teach them that. And so consequently, blacks don't know how to, when in Matthew it says, be fruitful and multiply, they think they're talking about having babies. It's about getting money and wealth and resources to be able to compete. Church does not understand, most church ministers don't understand the Bible. And they're just pawns for the white community to use to not help improve the life of blacks in the country. And out of all that money they get, the money never goes producing the products, services, goods for black folk. They try to build the biggest damn temple they can get on the earth. You go in some of these black cities, right in the heart of the ghetto, no food, no businesses, nothing. You'll see a church that's 4 blocks long.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny you say that. By the way, everybody, I'm talking to Dr. Claud Anderson, author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, the Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. He's filed lawsuits on reparations for many, many years. He's been fighting on the reparations issue, among many other issues, for a very long time. Please go look him up. Go to powernomics.com. You can check out his books and his Power Pack. I'm encouraging everybody to have a library in your house. You all know that we believe in the Black core of 3, which is that Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support Black businesses. That's what we believe in the Black Business School. Also, stop by the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com. We've got experts right there ready to talk to you about your personal economic plan and what you'd like to do in the future. So feel free to stop by theblackbusinessschool.com. Please hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell if you haven't done that yet. Dr. Anderson, I'm going to say that there's a big part of me that has hope for the church, that there are those in the church that I have met that I feel just simply didn't do those things because they just didn't know. They didn't know how to do it, and now that they know, I see their attitudes, their behaviors kind of shifting. You got this guy named Buster Suarez who had a church up in New Jersey, and he's all about Powernomics principles, and they're really, seeing the power that the church has economically and spreading that out. But you're right, though. I went to Atlanta and I was jogging. I went running. We're training for this marathon that's going to happen in 10 days. I'm scared to death about this race, but we went on a long run, and I hadn't been to my grandmother's grave in 6 years, and I looked up on Google Maps where her grave was, and it was about 7 miles away. So we went running. I didn't know what neighborhood I was going to be running through. Well, it turned out that we were running right through the heart of the ghetto. We were running right through West Atlanta. And we saw, burned down houses, boarded up houses, torn down grocery stores, Black men on the corner with liquor bottles in their hand. Only people we saw that were working and making money were whites that had been brought in to gentrify or to rebuild something, right? They were with the hard hats. They had the jobs. And right across the street, you see Black men just standing around, with nothing to do. And every building we saw was pretty devastated. It was very sad to kind of watch this. And it made me wonder, who's in charge of this district? Which politician is driving through all of this every day and not feeling the need to do anything about this? I was curious about that. Then the second thing I noticed, Dr. Anderson, to your point, is in the middle of all this chaos and darkness and despair, I saw this oasis of light from this gigantic church that took up the entire block and looked like the most beautiful castle you have ever seen. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, they really ought to be ashamed. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. You really ought to be ashamed of yourself, because you got this big, beautiful church. It looks like, the White House, looking like Harvard University or something. and you're right in the middle of houses on your left and your right and in front of you that are depleted and torn to pieces. Got black men down the street, can't get jobs. They had a hollowed out grocery store across the way that looked like somebody tried to make it a grocery store, but now it's just an open building that homeless people sleep in. Right. And I really could not understand why they would not at least consider that opportunity to go out there and buy some of that land, engage in some economic development, put some businesses in those communities, put those people to work, and build an economy around that church. It's very strange to me. So I see what you're saying. And I know you might have something to say about that, but I also wanted to ask if you could also address, you brought it up a little while ago, but I didn't know if you had more to say on this part. When I saw this judge hugging the Amber Guyger, the lady that was convicted of murder, when I saw the judge hugging her, and I saw the brother hugging her, one of my thoughts was, well, you can forgive people, but you don't have to make it public. Why are you doing this for the cameras? You're putting on the show. You're showing off. You're letting everybody know how you feel, as opposed to just because you can forgive, in your heart and just keep it to yourself. But they chose to deliberately make it a public statement. That made me think about the words you use a lot, meritorious manumission. Where slaves were rewarded for doing kind things for white people in front of other people. Can you kind of speak to that? And if meritorious manumission, what connection that has, if any, to what we just saw with this judge and the dead man's brother hugging the lady that was just convicted of murder in the courtroom?
Well, I'll try to do that. Meritorious manumission is a concept that came out of the religion started in the 1700s. And it was a part that came out of the black codes. The black codes of 705. 705 says it was a code that says dictated how whites were to behave as masters in slavery and how black folk were to behave as a slavee during slavery. It was a 1705 slave codes, and which said we got to learn how to control these blacks. And what we need ideally is not for everybody to be standing behind a black folk watching them every day. It says let's build something internally. That's what can we do, and fix it so black folk will control themselves and do inappropriate behavior, where they would do something mean to their own people, doing their own people, buy from other people, not buy from black folk. They would vote for other people, not vote for black folk. And to get in a public office would not do anything for black folk, would do something for everybody else. That a public official would carry everybody else's water except black folk water. And so I'm just using it and I'm speaking a little bit out of context there. So by 1710, that general time, for about 7-8 years later, 5 years later, they came up with this concept in South Carolina called Meritorious Manumission. So here's what let's do basically, is that let's recognize any black person who can demonstrate a distinct ability to be able to do 1 or 2 or 3 things. If they can do it well, we'll recognize them and give them set them free. Meritorious manumission means earn freedom. Meritorious means you did it. It's recognized. It's an award situation. And manumission being set free. So a black that demonstrates that. So what can a black do to get himself some freedom, get a little more flexibility, get a little better clothing in slavery during the other blacks? So it came out to be this: any black person who demonstrated to his white master or to the white society in general that he could produce something that would help white folks produce wealth and power and resources, he could be recognized and set free. And that started in South Carolina and spread to all the other colonies and stuff. Second thing, if he can also protect a white person, if he can protect a white person or a white family from any kind of death, a threat to their lives and livelihood, he can be recognized and set free. That's why in all those old movies, you always see a black person running down the road, the head of the Union Army, yelling, "Hey, Master, they coming to get our silver, our gold." And you said, how in the hell does hour? How'd you get included in the hour? And nowadays, but Dr. Anderson, I got to go and watch my team. What's your team? Oh, I got to watch the Colts or the Redskins. That's my team. Do you own in the stock? No, they ain't your damn team. How'd your hour include that? That's your team. But they become attached to something that they really have no ownership and value in. And the last thing was, if you can also squeal on, point 3, squeal on and tell on any black person who was planning a getting together with other black folk to create or stimulate a revolt or riot, slave revolt. And if you're doing one of those 3 things, elaboration, combination, sophistication, those 3 things, you can earn meritorious manumission. And that's why from about 1710 up to about I guess until civil rights movement, I tracked about 360 some slavery, what whites call revolts, black slave revolts, and a black person squealed in every one of them, And Prosner, who and back in the early 800s, and he's playing one of the biggest ones. Then VC playing one of the biggest slave revolts. Each case, black folks squeal on him. With VC, 3 blacks, Tom and Sambo, Tom and I can't think of the other guy's name, but he wins, and that's why when I hear the name Tom, that tells you something right there. If you name a child Tom.
So you're telling me that out of all the slave revolts you researched, one of them was brought down because
everyone, even Nat Turner, we had black squeal on Nat Turner. You have not been able to do everything. Even when you started the Black Power movement, there were blacks inside the Black Power movement squealing. I don't care, because each one was seeking to earn meritorious manumission. And right now, what a lot of them did since about the early 50s, they became conservatives. It says, I got a right because I'm a conservative. I'm running with. What is a conservative? Well, I'm a black conservative. What are you conserving? Well, I'm concerned with white folk conserving. But a conservative black is nothing but a black person who's running with the hound dogs while pretending he's a friend to the rabbit, okay? That's all he is. So don't let them trick you. I'm a conservative. That's what the hell are you conserving? Were you trying to conserve food stamps, welfare, public housing, castration, lynching, police shootings? How in the world can a black person say he's a conservative? Sure, what is he conserving? They say, okay, conservative comes from the root word to conserve. To conserve means you hold on to something you got and saying to other people, what I got, you ain't gonna never get. That's what a conservative is. So what does a black person have that he can be a conservative? So a lot of them want to say, I'm gonna be a Republican. I mean, and they don't understand what Republicanism and none of that stuff. We'll talk about the next week. Conservatism, Democrats and Republicans, all of them are game planning you. But I think I drifted off your point though.
Yeah, you did a great job. You completed the sentence for a lot of us, because I know a lot of us, I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if anybody went to school and didn't learn nothing about history that you were supposed to learn. I feel like I didn't start history class, so I started reading Dr. Anderson's books. And, I went to school and they teach you all about George Washington and everything else. They don't teach you nothing about what you need to know as a black person. And also, I want to thank Lil Narm for your donation. Thank you very much. We will put that money to good use and invest it in all our initiatives around the world. In fact, if you want to support the growth of intelligent black media, feel free to go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. If you'd like to get books from Dr. Claud Anderson, he has we can be your professors. We would love to be your professors. We're here with you all the time, and we love you, and we want to see you win. We want to see you do well. So if you would like to also invest in, we're always going to invest in you. And if you'd like to invest in what we've got going on, I hope you'll go visit powernomics.com. That's where Dr. Anderson's books are located. And I'd say have his books in your library, in your living room, so your children can read them and talk to them about powernomics principles, because they're not going to learn any of this in school, but this should be required reading. So you can go to powernomics.com and find all of his books. You can find the whole power pack, $99 for more education than you've ever had in your life when it comes to what you need to know as a black person anywhere in the world, not even just in the United States, but anywhere in the world. Thank you, Holy Boldly Cultural, for your donation.
But Dr. Watkins, I just want to ask you, why is it that I devoted my entire life, 60 years, to researching at the highest level of government, the highest level of politics, the highest level of business development, building major businesses across the country and around the world, heading up trade missions. And I put all the learnings that I got from from 6 college degrees into those books. Why is it I got to tell blacks repeatedly to go read the books so they can properly interpret and analyze anything dealing with black folk in the country? Why don't they rush out and why don't they go read those books? That's what I don't understand. Because Malcolm actually said in 1960, if you got a secret, put it in a book, a black person never find it. And I said, I got to prove Malcolm was wrong. And I said, black folk do read, and yet they still call me Dr. Anderson. I haven't got time to read your book. Can you put it in an ebook? I said, why can't you have the time? Because I'm busy. I said, Negroes don't have any business. So what business? How can you be busy with no businesses? And he said, well, can you? I said, no, read the books. And those 5 books will tell you everything you need to know in everything. There's nothing that you need to know about race matters. It's not in that power pack, that library pack. And you've been fantastic in trying to help get those books out. As I said, I'm recouping from some physical things I had to do with some health challenges. That's why I wasn't on last week with them. I'm trying to come back, but I can't keep. I'm getting older, tired, poor. I can't keep pushing these books to get an understanding. And this, between now and the next year, this is going to be a critical time for Black folk. And even I won't be able to come help them again, but I am going to have my little YouTube, Power Numbers YouTube channel up, doing the best I can. But even there, I got Black folk that want to challenge me about, well, Dr. Anderson, I don't know why you keep picking on the Indians, because why you pick on Indians? Those are your people. And you keep talking about downgrading the Indians. You're not Black. I say, I am Black. No, you're not Black. And then somebody said, no, you're beige. You're whites. You know, I said, all my life I've been Black. Every time I got a job in history, the first Black assistant secretary in commerce, first Black to ever have chair economic developments for white folk, first Black to ever be over the state education system. I can go on. I was always called Black. But now when I try to fight for Black folk, I got Black folk. Can you believe that? Jump and say, well, Dr. Anderson, you're not Black enough. I mean, yeah, you filed all these lawsuits, fought all these battles for 60 years, but you're not Black. You got to be something else. There's one woman I got to respond to on that little YouTube channel, and I want to find out, why is it she's so opposed to me being Black? She's adamantly opposed for me not to be called myself Black. And see, she doesn't understand what Blackness is. And I keep telling you in conclusion, because you got to get off the air now. I want Black folk to understand that Blackness is not a biological skin color. That's not what Blackness is. Blackness is a social political construct. And that Black folk, what makes Black folk special is not just the skin color, it's their history. It's the way they've been treated and maltreated. It is their exceptionality. It is their code of conduct. It is their honor. It is the indebtedness this country has to them that goes way beyond anybody else. Just because a person comes to this country from Caribbean as an African American, that he doesn't have that profoundness of Blackness. He might have the skin color, but he does not have that exceptionality. We had to come in from Africa. He does not have that exceptionality. Blackness is an exceptionalism of special people in this country and in the world. I stand up for Black folk, and I tell a woman in a second, I'm going to fight for Black folk as long as I live. Those are my people. I love them. I've loved them all my life. I've fought for them. Don't tell me I'm not Black. You got some Indian relatives, so you're an Indian. No, I'm not. I'm Black. And the first rule in this country is called a rule called one drop blood, which means that if you got one drop of Black blood, your ass is Black. But somehow she doesn't want me to be Black, which doesn't make any sense. But she's sending notes and letters to the Power Numbers Corporation, says, why don't he quit calling themselves Black? He's an Indian. I'm not a damn Indian. I've been Black all my life. I had to throw that in. So, but tell your people about the books and I bet, what's today, Thursday? Yep. Again, I'll tell you, whenever I come on like this, I'm gonna count. And next week, I'm gonna tell you how many books, how many library packs were sold to your people. How many of them bought the damn books packs?
Well, Dr. Anderson, let me jump in and also say, you know, I'm a believer that I don't want to force anybody to feel like they have to do anything. If you want to support, or if not even support, don't do it because you're supporting us. Do it because you're supporting yourself. You know, do it because you're supporting your family. And that's why I tell, you know, everybody here, I don't want them to think that you're just here to sell a book. I want them to know that you're here because you care. And but here's the other thing too. I
want them to get the information. They need the information, the understandings, connecting the dots. That's what I'm after. You see?
Yeah. Well, what I definitely want is I want people to really kind of just take a second step back and think about how much you support the people who don't like you. You know, how much money, you know, do an inventory of how much money you spent with white businesses this month, and then ask yourself, do these people care about me? And then ask yourself, does Dr. Claud Anderson care about me? And how much money did I spend with the Powernomics Corporation? And when I do that simple math, and I think about the fact that I'm gaining this much and it might cost me that much. I mean, nothing's free. You know, it costs you a lot of money to run your business. Your lawsuits have cost you all kinds of, you know, cost a lot of money. And it's kind of strange that we have a community where our celebrities are not stepping up to support these sorts of initiatives. I mean, that's one of the reasons we fall behind. You know, that's why our HBCUs are dying. That's why the work you're doing, your think tank, you created one of the few Black think tanks out there. we should have space for that, So I think that with going back to the church concept, a lot of us who go to church, we tithe we tithe 10% tithe to the church. Well, I want to make the argument that maybe you should tithe at least 10% to your people. I'm not going to tell you where that tithe should be. It could be something local you contribute to. It could be something in this platform. It could be something somewhere else. But tithe to your people, because I'll tell you what, Dr. Anderson, I did the math. And if you consider the fact that we get 1.3 trillion in income and about 1.2 trillion of that goes to white folks, if we just took 10% of that and pulled it back into the Black community, tied to ourselves, into our future, into our children, then that would be $120 billion in the Black community, which if that money is circulated to Black businesses, let's say 3, 4, 5 times, you're talking about $500 billion annual income increase for the Black community. That's better than reparations. White folks ain't gonna give you $500 billion for your reparations package. They're talking about 100 billion or some tiny amount like that on a one-time amount. I think the best reparations package for Black people will come from Black people. And so I speak on what you're doing with Powernomics because I haven't read too many things I can't think of anything that's been more effective than what you put in with the research behind all your work. Than what you've done. I can't think of anything that's impacted my thinking more in terms of being able to have some clarity on all of this. So feel free to go, I hope you guys will go check it out. And I want to say thank you all, Dual Victory, for your donation. I appreciate that very much. Also, Eric Donaldson, thank you so much for donating to the platform as well. And if you want the website, type in, you go to powernomics.com. Please feel to type that in. Thank you to Warner Lewis as well. I'll see you in there. Thank you for your donation. Also the books there, the Power Pack consists of Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, the Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2, and also a DVD. Also, you can subscribe to Dr. Anderson's YouTube channel. And in addition to that, I just encourage you to be a part of what he's got going on, because these are your universities. That's what we want. We want to replace, all those white universities that you went to that put you $100,000 in debt. We won't put you in debt, but we want to replace what they're giving you with something better, something Blacker, something more relevant, something more meaningful, something more passionate that's going to actually make a difference in your life. So after you go to powernomics.com, I hope you'll stop by theblackbusinessschool.com. We have a free membership where you can get started. We have experts on the line that can talk to you right now about your future. So it's theblackbusinessschool.com. Last but not least, I'll be in New York October 27th. We're going to do a financial Juneteenth investment summit in New York City. You should fly in. If you live in another city, you're going to love it. You can go to drboycenewyork.com to find out more. That's drboycenewyork.com. So Dr. Anderson, did you have anything to say before we head on out?
Only that you asked me earlier about whether or not it was important to maintain the churches in the Black community. Yes, it is, but we have to maintain them. That's because first we have to build these communities. And when you build a community, you must have some structural institutions in there to be able to promote the culture, the value, the history, the togetherness, the uniqueness of a people in a given area. And the church should be an institution. We should have about 4 or 5 basic institutions in the Black community that must be strong and steadfast. One should be the church. The second one should be the family. Third one should be the school system, educational system. And fourth one should be the political or social economic groups like what you call civil rights organizations. Those are the things that must be totally committed to trying to elevate the quality of life of Black folk, to teach them how to practice group economic and group politics, just like Jews do. Jews have a basic philosophy, and I told you earlier how everybody uses their religion except Black folk. Jews are started with a kid in the synagogue in the 3rd and 4th, 5th grade, teaches this basic premise that remember as a Jew, wherever you need to buy anything in life, remember to buy it from a Jew, because someplace there's a Jew making it, manufacturing, distributing, and selling it. They teach that starting in the earlier grades and teach it all the way through their system. Black folk need to be saying the same thing. And so, but right now the Black church is not doing it because nobody's demanding that those churches teach and the ministers teach economics, social economics, and how to practice group politics and group economics. But we do need them, and we have to have a community and to protect our institutions. And the community, and what you have to protect those institutions inside the community is what you call a sense of community. A sense of community is like a roof. Once you build these communities, the sense of community is like putting a bubble over it, protected bubble, And underneath that bubble, you put your families, everything that's structural to you inside there, and it's protected so nobody can penetrate it, misuse it, abuse it, mislead it, and start practicing inappropriate behavior. You run out hugging and kissing on your adversaries and and people who you're in competition with. So I have not read that article that you spoke about, but I'm read it. But I'll say this to you in conclusion, is that anytime a Black person sets up in the public and hug and kiss on people that's killing them because of gender or cultural associations in Indians, then they're doing a disservice. There's a threat to my life and to your life. Somebody always hugging on the people that are killing you, because what you're saying, that inappropriate behavior tells those groups, you can come in and kill us anytime you want to. We're not going to be mad and angry. Come do it, and we'll always forgive you. That is a threat. As a threat to your own people to display inappropriate behavior like that, and I'm against it. And I do hope that the churches become more responsible, that the civil rights organizations would quit bullshitting people by telling them, you got to pray to God, put it in God's hand. No, it's to be in their hands, Black community's hands here on the earth.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Anderson, for that excellent commentary. Please give Dr. Anderson a digital round of applause. If you haven't done that yet, please give him a quick thank you, and let him know that he's Black enough. Not black enough, Blag enough. That's the name of our social media platform, and it's important. You guys have to join blaggenuff.com. BLAGGENUF. Somebody type that in, please. Type that in so other people can spell it. BLAGGENUF.com. Blaggenuff.com is actually the social media platform we have that can replace Facebook. Because I don't know if you guys know, I didn't tell you all this, but I posted an image of Botham Jean's brother hugging the judge and hugging the white lady, and Facebook banned me again. So so basically we have to have a backup plan, because Facebook, the thought police, they pretty much come after anybody that speaks the truth on race. So I'm sort of preparing for the day when they tell me I can never come back. So join blaggenuff.com. So everybody's clapping for you, Dr. Anderson. They said you are Black enough. And in fact, you don't even have to answer ever, in my opinion, ever even respond to somebody who questions your Blackness. Because in fact, if somebody questions your Blackness, I'm gonna question their Blackness. And also I'm gonna wonder if they're a federal agent or something, because that sounds ridiculous to me. So thank you very much, Dr. Anderson.
Thank you. And tell your supporters I love them, okay? And tell them I continue to be as Black as I want to be, okay?
All right, all right. Well, everybody tell Dr. Anderson you love him. And we wish you a quick recovery, and we appreciate you very much. And also we appreciate Sharon Wright for your donation, as well as Tammy. Tammy, I see you in there at 50 in Zynga. He says, hello, doctors. It's a pleasure to see you, Dr. Anderson. He says he has your books, an invaluable wealth of information. Family, please order the complete package today. So thank you very much for that support, and thank you for being a part of this great conversation and backing away from all the buffoonery that we see in the media and all the simple-mindedness. Our goal is to have a platform for intelligent Black people, or those who want to be more intelligent, and that's what we're all about. We're all about learning, growing, having an open mind, and being smart, and also being courageous. So thank you very much, Dr. Anderson.
All right, thank you for inviting me, buddy. See you next week.
See you soon, my friend.
All right, bye-bye.
Hit the thumbs up button, everybody. Bye-bye.